Hello everyone, welcome back to Neutralix. I'm your host cosolix, and today I'm teaching you how to play Brawlhalla. You're probably a new Brawlhalla player and you want to improve, you want to get better, you want to learn how to play Brawlhalla. I'm the man to teach you today. If you want to check out my other stuff, check out cosolix on everything, or if you want some personal coaching from me, check out teamneutralix.com or cosolix.com. Link to our website is down below. This channel, it's made to help you improve. So if you actually want to get better at Brawlhalla, just past the beginner stuff that we're going to be talking about in this video, then please subscribe to this channel, because I promise if you watch our other videos, you will improve at Brawlhalla. Let's get right into this. So we're going to launch Brawlhalla, and it doesn't matter what console you're on. You could be on mobile, you could be on PC, you could be, I don't know, on a tablet, whatever. I guess that's mobile. What you're going to want to do is go to offline play. We're going to go to training, and we're just going to be talking about the basics of Brawlhalla. And not just the basics. Like, you might be, oh, I know the basics. No, there's actually a lot more basics that aren't basics that you're going to want to know. So pick the character you want to play. I would recommend the first thing, play a couple matches and pick a main. It doesn't matter who you pick, whoever is the most fun to you. It's easier to get good at something when you lower the scope. A scope is basically how many things do I have to get good at, or do I have to learn in order to accomplish my goal. And if you're only playing one character, or even maybe focusing on one weapon at a time, your scope is small and you really don't need to improve very much to actually improve a crap ton in ranked and whatnot. So yeah, pick your character, pick a main, then let's go to Small Brawl or Demon Island or any map you really want. Just make sure it's pretty small and flat, probably a tournament map. We'll be going over some other settings and stuff towards the end. Let's talk about the basics to Brawlhalla. Before doing anything, the first thing to know, there's a walk and there's also a dash. If you walk and you press the dodge button, for me it's left bumper, but by default on controller it is the left trigger, you perform a dash. And you don't get iframes. So iframes are invincibility frames. So if you press the dodge button without moving, it's a spot dodge. But if you do it while moving, it's a dash. The dash, you don't get iframes, like you're not invincible. But the dodge, you're invincible. It's a defensive option. Now let's talk about the other movement option, jumping. Jumping puts you into the air, brings you also back from, falling. We'll be going over the attack soon. But one thing to note is your final jump is red. You see how that last jump is red? A lot of people don't actually know that, which is pretty crazy. That final jump tells you you got no more jumps. You get 2 air jumps, 1, 2, and now you can't jump, but you get 1 grounded jump. So in total, it's 3 jumps. 1, 2, 3, or 1, 2. And even on the wall, you can jump off the wall and then you get the 2 air jumps. So it's the same as being on the stage, except for another mechanic we'll talk about a bit later. But now that this puts you into the air, let's try and dash in the air. And you'll find you can't do that. What happens is it's a diagonal air dodge. So if you don't move, it's a spot dodge. And then if you do move, it's a diagonal dodge. And the difference is a spot dodge, you have more invincibility frames. So you can dodge attacks easier. As well as it can enable you to something else, which we'll talk about next. But the diagonal dodges, you get more momentum with movement. You can position yourself a lot better, but at the risk of less iframes. Not too much of a risk. I wouldn't overthink this stuff, but these are just the essentials to Brawlhalla. Now let's talk about the spot dodge a little bit. The spot dodge can actually take you into what's called a gravity cancel. And so can the diagonal dodges, but a spot dodge is easiest for this. If you dodge and then attack, you can do grounded attacks in mid-air. We'll talk about the grounded attacks very soon. But yeah, this is just something to note if you want to extend a combo and you want a specific attack. So for example, let's say you want like a signature. We'll be going over the signatures a little bit later. You can waste a dodge and actually use a signature in mid-air. You'll actually find if you try and use a signature, we'll talk about the sigs, but in the air you can't. They're recoveries and ground pounds. We'll talk about the attacks next. But that's kind of all you need to know with dashing. And then there's jumping, right? There's fast falling. So if you hold down, you fall a little bit faster, which is really nice. And then dashes, you can actually add these together. So if you dash and jump, this is a dash jump. And I'd really recommend watching a movement guide. We have one on this channel, so you can go check that out. How do you utilize movement to the best and learn all the movement options you kind of need to know. You can also fast fall while dash jumping, so you can see these are kind of combined. And then you can even do it back and forth, do a little dance like this. You can go forward like this. You can jump fast fall like this. This is called an empty hop, or just a jump fast fall. And this is a great way to bait people out, especially in neutral, which We could talk about the term neutral, just a fighting game term. But yeah, there's just a ton of movement options. I've kind of taught them all already. So try them. Just get kind of a feel for movement in Brawlhalla. There's a couple more like ledge cancels and stuff. We're not going to go into detail because they're not essential. But yeah, watch our movement guide if you want to learn more about movement. But for now, just get good at the stuff we talked about so far. Make sure you're comfortable with everything that has been discussed. And then let's talk about the attacks. So Brawlhalla has grounded light attacks and grounded signatures. So there's 3 grounded light attacks. You got down light, side light, and neutral light. And if you don't already know, every character has 2 different weapons. So you get different variations of this depending on the weapon. So if I'm unarmed, you get side light, down light, neutral light. Or if I've got an axe, you've got side light, down light, and neutral light. These are all universal attacks for every axe character, every character that has unarmed, every lance character, etc. What sets characters apart other than their stats are what's called signatures. So signatures are unique attacks to the character based on the weapon. So for example, this is my axe side sig, this is my axe down sig, this is my axe neutral sig. So 3 variations. No other axe character in the game has this, only Olgrim does, or Macho Man crossovers. Same with lance. You got side sig, you got neutral sig, and you got down sig. The only exception to this rule is unarmed. Every unarmed character, which is every character in the game, has the same down sig, side sig, and neutral sig with unarmed. It's just the weapon signatures that set them apart. And you'll kind of find if you try and use a signature in midair, it actually creates a recovery. If you let go or if you hold up, it's a recovery. If you hold down, it's a ground pound. And again, these are universal to every character. They're not signatures. They're separate, even though it is the same input, just in the air. And then the light attacks, you can do them in the air as well, but they're variations. You got side air, down air, and neutral air. You'll notice in Brawlhalla, up and neutral are the same. So don't get too confused. If you need to do like an up attack, you don't even need to press up sometimes. But yeah, so 3 variations of the light attacks, both on grounded and midair. And yeah, the signatures we've talked about, the recoveries are separate. That's kind of all you need to know when it comes to the attacks in Brawlhalla. If you don't know how Brawlhalla works, is traditionally in ranked and whatnot, you've got 3 stocks. Your stocks are in the top right, and so is your health. You can do some settings. Like you can see my setting here puts the health above my opponent. I can show you how to do these settings. We have so many guides here on Neutralix. If you want to look up the best settings and preferences for Brawlhalla, we have a guide for that this year already. So go check that out for 2024. You can just search it up or go to our channel. Yeah, search it up. But those are kind of the general stuff to Brawlhalla you kind of need to know. And then it's just adding these all together. Now let's talk more about combos. Because, yeah, okay, you do need to know combos. But in terms of the mechanics, you know, I taught you all the movement, I taught you all the attacks. Let's talk about combos. So combos, there's 2 kinds of combos in Brawlhalla. There are true combos and there are strings. A true combo is a combo you can't dodge out of in no way, shape, or form. There are some exceptions to some niche situations, but we're not going to talk about that. A true combo, for instance, on Lance is side light neutral air. And to test if a combo is true or not in training, what you're going to want to do is let's show hurt boxes, show hit boxes, but more importantly, show stun on, and I like to show damage. Let's also turn item spawning off. By the way, this is just the settings tab. Just hit settings. Pick the weapon you want. Let's switch to the bot setting. Let's switch the control mode from player to bot. And let's make sure the bot's in the center of the map. Makes things a lot easier. Let's switch back. And then at the bottom, damage reset, turn that on. Position reset, turn that on. And if you want to set the bot to a specific damage, you can just scroll here and set the bot to whatever damage you want, and they'll reset. So to test if it's a true combo, you do the combo, and you see how nothing popped up. That means it's a true combo, or it wasn't a combo. But it was a true combo because it was. Like, if you do, like, you know, 2 separate attacks, it's not going to pop up with anything. But you get what I'm saying? That's a true combo. Meanwhile, this is a string. See how it shows dodge window 1? It means my opponent has 1 dodge frame to get out of this combo. And so that's a string. If they can get out, it's a string. Something to note is, let's say your opponent doesn't have a dodge. So if you dodge in the air, you have 3 seconds to get it back. And on the ground, it's 1.5 seconds. So dodge, and then you're going to get it back. If your opponent doesn't have a dodge, then jump requires 2 startup frames, and sometimes attacks cover jumps. So for instance, let's say our opponent doesn't have a dodge, but they try and jump, my sidelight neutral sig will still cover. So that's something to note. If your opponent doesn't have a dodge, they are vulnerable, and you could do stuff that aren't true combos and really hit some long combos against your opponent. We're not going to be going over all the combos in the game. That would take us way too long. But just note of the idea of a true combo and what to look out for. If you want to learn more true combos for every weapon or the weapon you play, or even unarmed, again, we have guides for basically everything. If you can't find a guide on our channel, then check it out on another channel. But that's the general stuff that you need to know. You're attacking, you're moving. Now let's talk about the overall game plan. How do you actually win at Brawlhalla? The key is making your opponent vulnerable. So I have like a 3-step plan we're going to talk about really quick. Step 1, make our opponent vulnerable. So to do that, you make them maybe dodge poorly. More importantly, we want to make them miss. Brawlhalla is a bit of a passive game, but you can make them miss in an aggressive way through pressure and baiting. I'm going to actually play a game in front of you guys to kind of show how do you make your opponent miss. And then once they miss, step 2, we're asking yourself, can we capitalize? Can we actually punish the miss? If we can't, let's go back to step 1. And if we can punish the miss, then you hit them and you ask yourself, can you combo? And if you can't, then you kind of go back to step 1. We want to make them miss again. By missing, maybe a poor dodge or whatever, and that's how we extend combos. We want to keep extending by making them vulnerable and putting them in an advantage position for us. So let's get out of training, and I'm going to play an experimental game. This is going to be a bit more complex, advanced gameplay. We got 7 here, and we're just going to talk about just like the overall game plan. You can see a couple combos I'm doing right now, like D-like ground pound unarmed. So, okay, I did forget about this. When you hit your opponent, there's another kind of dodge. It's called a chase dodge. And if you dodge in the direction of your opponent, then you can chase after them. But again, you waste a dodge. Being able to play is a good reminder so I don't forget anything. So like that was like a neutral air into a jump recovery. We could be like dashing away. The key, again, make our opponent vulnerable. Like that. Let's see what he does. Make him miss. Hit a true combo. Make him miss again. Just do an attack. Make him miss. Make him miss. And you can see I jumped to make him miss. Also, if they're right in front of you, you can attack. Like if they can't humanly like react to it, then yeah, but I wouldn't rely on that. The key is to make your opponent vulnerable. Almost all my attacks that I'm landing is from my opponent making a mistake, like that unarmed end light right there. Hit that side light. Now he's got no dodge. Oh, I just got his dodge back because he touch grounded. I didn't think he had a dodge. Even though your opponent can get out of strings, sometimes it's good to go for them if you don't think your opponent will get out of them, because then you're just hitting a really long combo for free. That was terrible of me. I got no dodge. See, he went for the recovery instead because I had no dodge. Okay. I don't want to lose this. Oh, no, he threw that. Okay. Let's not lose this. A little too close to comfort, but it is what it is. So if you want to play ranked in Brawlhalla, here's what I'd recommend. Go to ranked and then hit settings. For me, it's Y. You can hit K on keyboard or click the top. Tournament maps only, turn that on. Ban the maps you don't want to play, and then ban gadgets on. And what you're also going to want to do is go to the top right. We're going to hit preferences. I personally like player names all and damage for team icons, and then go big icons. This way you can actually see the damage indicators really easily. It's so nice. This is like an essential setting. For camera mode, I play default. A lot of people play close or action. A lot of pros do. So I'd recommend changing it to that, to be honest. I would do action at first. Close is kind of too close. And then you can also blur the background. And you can practice your combos in a waiting room if you change the preference here. Also, one last thing, and change region. Hit add server. Make sure US West or your secondary servers are disabled. They're enabled by default for some reason. Other than that, this is kind of the basics to Brawlhalla. If I forgot anything, please comment it down below. But pick a main, you know the basic options, get your opponent to miss, capitalize, learn the combos, practice movement, and also, one last thing, subscribe both to Neutralix, but also every other Brawlhalla content creator. If you watch Brawlhalla content, you're going to absorb, you're going to see what people do, and that's going to help you improve. So subscribe to your favorite Brawlhalla creators. Thanks for watching. I'm your host, cosolix, and I'll see you guys all later. Peace.